Day one was full of surprises both on the course and off. My mic didn't work, sorry about that, but you know what? They told me the sun would rise tomorrow, and clearly it did. But I got a great show for you tonight. Nate Doss is going to be my co-host, and we've got some great stats and analysis coming up with Brian Henniger once again. And is anybody tired of hearing that guy Paul McBeth's name? Well, too bad, because McBeast mode is in full effect.
We are here at the hole 9 of the Beast with Paul McBeth. Paul, hole 9 today, what happened?
The conditions were nice, no wind really, and I threw a sidearm out there that I was pretty confident in. The President's Cup, I had 2 really good sidearms on this hole, and today I threw one that was very similar and got a really good skip, and it just happened to end up in this basket.
So that was a great ace. Is it your first major ace or have you hit those before?
I actually got an ace last year at the World Championships in Portland, Oregon. A much shorter hole, probably about 230. This is probably closer to 330. Yeah, it was a mid-range backhand last year, and then this one was my first forehand skip ace.
McBeth acing at another major. Who to be surprised after he shows up on the show last night and talks about his preparation. But our co-host tonight is another 3-time world champion. Yeah, that's right, that's a twofer. We're going to welcome my great friend, Nate Doss. And as promised, Nate Doss is here with us in studio, man. How you feeling tonight?
Oh, feeling great, Jamie.
About to spend some of that $220,000 career earnings, huh?
I was just wondering where all that went, man.
Disc golf is an expensive hobby to have when you travel the world like this guy right here.
Indeed.
And speaking of traveling the world, tell us about, you just went to Russia, of all places, with your wife, Val. How did that go? And first of all, how did that come to be?
I mean, and it's an extremely long story, but to make it as simple as possible, people in Russia wanted disc golfers to come and teach. They asked the U.S. government there locally in Russia to bring some people over from the United States. They contacted the PDGA. They wanted 1 male, 1 female, and the PDGA graciously, selected me and Val, and it was really an unbelievable lifetime, life-changing experience, really. I mean, to go to a country like Russia, the biggest country in the world, by land mass. It was really cool, and a lot of people we came across had never even heard of disc golf before, and so we got to meet a lot of great people and a lot of people who love disc golf as well.
All right, and I'm going to take 2 things from that. One is, if you want disc golf around, just ask the local government and you get Nate Doss. I'm going to try that back home sometime.
Absolutely.
And the second is, by being such a great ambassador to the game, or of the game, for the game, you get to travel to all these amazing places. I mean, is there one memorable moment that you had an interaction with maybe a local person or just an experience that you'd love to share with us?
I mean, really my experiences have been, all across the board. The biggest thing I could ever say about traveling internationally is more the friendships that have been made. I have friends from Japan, from Finland, from Sweden, from Norway, from Denmark, from Germany. I mean, we've stayed at these people's houses. We've eaten dinner with them and their family. We've seen them have no kids, have 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, and now their kids are up going to school. So, there's no one true story that I could give justice here in 10 seconds, but it's just the family and friends from around the world, and is really, one of the biggest honors for sure.
It's one of the coolest things, and we always say it. It's a colloquialism that we have in the sport, the disc golf family, but it really is so true. And even in my short time, I've been able to experience that as well, and it's just fantastic. Tell us a little bit about you off the course as well. You are a bona fide home brewer, medal-winning home brewer. The team, both of y'all, are really good. How did you get into that?
It's again, everything's a long story, but we had some craft beers around the world. You know, we've tried craft beer all over the world, and the United States is very big into it. And a friend of ours said, yeah, I brewed my own. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Tried it with him once, loved the process, and really the way that I am as a person off the course. You asked that question. You know, I'm a builder. I grew up, you know, putting Legos together and putting puzzles together, and I really like the process of things. And brewing beer is almost exactly that way. You know, you have a start, you have a finish, and you kind of got to follow a process along, and that really sort of, you know, drove me to it. And I really needed a hobby. You know, I've been playing disc golf my entire life, and for the longest time it was a hobby until I started playing it as a profession. I needed something else to do, and brewing beer was a really fun hobby. And again, it brings people together. You know, you have a pint of beer at your house, stuff that you brewed is one of the greatest feelings for sure.
And I have been lucky enough to have had some of the Doss's home brews, and they are top notch, I can tell you.
Well,
but
you.
None before show, but you know, after the show maybe.
Of course,
we'll see what
course,
happens.
Yeah.
Well, peppering him with questions, and we've got some questions for some other disc golfers. Let's check out our question of the day.
My worst score was a 23 on an island hole in Western Australia. I just emptied my bag, just kept going, and you know I was frustrated, so I just pulled every single disc out and just threw it.
The worst score on a hole I've ever taken is an 11 on hole 18 at De La Viega.
I think it was 10 during European Championships 2010.
My worst single hole result is 9 strokes. The beast hole number 16, the island hole.
My worst score was 9 on a BDGA Tour event in the UK.
I had an 8 on 16 in 2013.
All right, so I'm not nearly as high rated as any of these guys, so I'm not going to answer this question. I'm exempt being the host because I can do that. But Nate, how about you, man? What is your worst score?
Well, I got to say that I was surprised to hear that McBeth had an 11 on 18 at De La Viega. I mean, I grew up there playing my entire life. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody taking an 11 there, but
That's rough.
my also worst score on any one given hole is an 11, and it was at the USDGC on hole 17.
Wow.
It's not the hole that you know. It was a different hole we used to play along the lake. Same rules applied, and I just could not get it on the island. Finally, I did. I tapped in for an 11, and you know, you lose a little piece of yourself right then, but it all worked out in the long run. So.
I think the 3 World Championships kind of bring some of that back
Right.
in a little bit, but
Absolutely.
you know, there's plenty of people who have had their struggles on 17 at 11, even as recent as last year. That is a round maker. You can play 17 good holes and still not win a tournament there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty brutal. Well, speaking of good throws, bad throws, hole 16 was mentioned. We've got some great action from day one. I won't keep you in suspense any longer. Check out what happened today at the opening round of the European Open.
Let's check it out.
And we're back in the PDGA Analysis Corner, and that means my friend Brian Henniger is here once again. Let's talk some stats. We finally got a round under our belts, and Paul McBeth leading again. What a surprise. It's not often in a major event that you putt less times than there are holes to play. How about that?
Well, we originally thought he had 17 putts. He actually had 19. He proved himself human. He missed 2 putts inside the circle. But his scorecard ended up with 10 birdies, an eagle ace, bogey-free. You got to say that the McBeast delivered on the plan he told us about last night. Keep it in bounds, putt well. He looks relaxed and confident, loves this event. The course is called the Beast, and he is the McBeast.
And you can
Good
see,
luck to the competition.
absolutely, when he's on, it is hard to catch. Even with carding 5 4s in the last 7 holes, he still manages to finish 2 ahead of Will Schustrick, who had a bogey-free 10-down round, by the way. Nothing to scoff at. And we've got some Finns in the mix. I wonder why. They must live close to the course or something. But Mikko Fear is throwing excellent at 8 down, and Ricky Wasaki's right behind him. Speaking of Will Schustrick, 10 birdies, no bogeys. How tough is it to play clean out here at the Beast?
It's really, really difficult. We haven't looked at all the scorecards, but there's a good chance that only Paul and Will were bogey-free the whole round. Will finished second last weekend behind Paul at the Scandinavian Open. He's the 3-time U.S. champion, and he defeated Paul in extra holes at the USDGCs last October. So he definitely has a great shot. The other guy, looking at who's up at the top of the leaderboard, the other guy who's truly in the hunt is Ricky Wysocki. He's got 1039 player rating, which makes him the second highest currently. A few weeks ago, he won the prestigious Maple Hill Open, one of the biggest national tour events in Massachusetts. He's won in Japan before at the major event level. Look for those 3 dogs at the top all week long. Now, let's talk about the Euros as well.
Let's talk about them.
We had 3 Finns, Mikko Fear, Arttu Sikkonen, and Teemu Nisanen, who are all inside the top 5. And 2 of them are tied in a 3-way tie for 5th. So that's they're all in the top 7 shooters overall. And I looked it up. I said, is there any home course advantage here? Of course, this is a temp course, but if you come from Greater Tampere, then you probably know this piece of land better than most. But no, Mikko's from Helsinki, and both Arttu and Teemu are from a little town called Numela, which is about 50K outside of Helsinki. So hats off to them. Also, the highest rated of the 3 of them is Teemu at only 10.03. These guys played hot today. And let's hope that they can keep it going, because it's all too often that you see a guy who plays really hot the first round, who's not quite at the same level on paper as the best. And at some point, they generally tend to fade. And hopefully these guys are going to keep it up.
Future President's Cup material for sure. But we can't just talk about the men. The ladies played exceptionally well today. We have the leader, Sarah Hokum, shooting only 2 over par. Just a fantastic finish coming down the stretch, really putting it away. And Valerie Jenkins, how about some World Championships? How about being in the hunt for a European Open title? Another just great, phenomenal play. And what was really fun today was getting to watch one of the ladies, at least one lady, carded with all the other Open men. So you got to see a variety of different games, styles, power levels if you were at the course watching today. And, you can't sleep on Katrina Allen or Paige Pierce. They will come back to haunt these 2 at the top if they're not careful. And that really goes for both sides. Like you're saying, you can't sleep on this course. There's out of bounds everywhere. You have to control it. It's what Paul told us last night. Make a game plan, stick to it, and make your putts most of all.
Well, the 4 ladies you mentioned are all previous world champions, so the cream has really risen to the top early. And Paige would be closer. She's 5 off the lead, 3 out of 3rd. She took a 9, a quintuple bogey on hole 18 to finish her round. But they said 30 seconds later she was smiling and laughing like she always does. And that's how a pro recovers and moves on from a real challenge and gets ready for the next round. Congratulations to Paige.
Absolutely. And she'd be right up there with Val and Sarah, who just played a phenomenal round. You're talking about 2 birdies and 5 bogeys on a very long course. This course is designed for accuracy and power. You have to have both in a UC Maresma designed major level course, and these girls are showing they can hang with the best of them, the furthest throwers of them.
Well, Foul 67 was built on 2 birdies and 5 bogeys. I mean, what that talks about, there's no doubles or triples on that scorecard at all, and that means she played really steady.
You know who else had no doubles, no triples, no bogeys, and an ace? Some guy named Paul McBeth. Let's see what he had to say after his round.
Paul, the whole round was a great success for you. So you finished with minus 12 under, which is the new course record. Can you discuss the round as a whole?
Yeah, the round started out really good. I started out with a birdie on 1-2, had 2 pars back to back, but then I had I think 3 or 4 birdies in a row, and then this ace right here, which put me 8 under after the first 9 holes. And then 10 and 11, I got birdies to go 10 under through 11. And after that was kind of the struggle. My putts weren't looking too good all day. I was getting really good shots off the tee, really good up shots. And then the back, I think I had 5 4s in my final 7 holes, which, I mean, with that many mistakes, to still shoot the course record is promising. You know, looking forward to the next 3 days, but I'll definitely be hitting the putting green early tomorrow.
And just because the sun was out doesn't mean the course gets any easier. There were some good people who struggled today who have some work to do.
Well, we can start with Finland's best player, Seppo Paju. He's at par, 12 shots off the pace. He started with a double bogey 5 on hole 1 and never recovered. Stevie Rico, a guy one of the greatest guys in the game. We'd all love to see him win another major. He's at 63, 1 under. Simon Lizotte, arguably Europe's current best player, 10 off the pace at 2 down. Nico Locastro, one of the top 5 players in the world, took an 8 on hole 16. He's 10 off the pace.
And for anybody that's watching on hole 16, it's been mentioned a couple times, they are playing the bunker rule, which means you don't take a penalty stroke, but you do rethrow from your previous lie if you don't land in bounds. And being that it's a par 4 with an island hole, and in the wind, down on the flat, you've got to make sure that your disc angle lands right, or you might find yourself taking an 8 too.
And it's a small island.
It's a small island. It can cause some roller coasters in your score. And you know, speaking of roller coasters, we have a guy who is not on the bad list and he's not on the great list. He's roller coastering somewhere in between. Let's talk about Greg Barsby today. What a round of almost 10 birdies and a double and a triple to end up at a meager 3 under after just shredding over half the course.
You can understand his frustration. His triple was an 8 on par 5, number 8.
And
reminds you of 888 at the USDGC.
Every course seems to have that hole that can trip people up, but I heard he hit a real nice putt to not make it a 9.
I was there. He hit about a 45-footer from that. His previous shot had gone OB, and he was next to the tree down the hill from the putt, and he drained it.
Hey, but you know what? He's smiling in the picture. He smiles a lot in real life. I'm sure he'll be back tomorrow with some more jokes and a few more great shots. Brian, thanks for joining us once again. Let's talk some more stats tomorrow. What do you say?
My pleasure, Jamie. Great to be here. Thanks a lot.
And not all the holes are easy, hard, always in between. Let's check out the hole of the day presented by Disc Golf Park.
Hole number 3. It's first par 4 on the course, and actually the first hole you're going to play inside the Arboretum, which is the nice tree garden since 100 years. Hole is long, so it's not that long, but it has a relatively good amount of trees, and there is a big guardian tree in front of you, so you need to navigate around it. And then you're going to face a nice sloping approach shot into the green.
155 meters, 509 feet, slightly downhill. I'm going to throw a star T-bird. Just keep it in the middle, set up a second shot for an easy 3.
For me on this hole, I will choose.
All right, so we'll figure out what Simon has to say later. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. We'll ask him then. But for now, we have another world champion guest, somebody you know real well, I know real well. Let's welcome Dave Feldberg to the show. All right. As promised, Dave Feldberg back in studio with us. How you feeling tonight, Dave?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah? That champagne drink with a $361,000 in career earnings. What are you drinking out of that?
I'm drinking the champagne that UC provides. Me and Nate, 7 times President Cup.
7-time President's Cup. We don't want to rub it in too much. The European players got enough of it last night, but let's talk about both of you guys getting to play in the President's Cup. What does that mean? It's something that very few people get to do. How many of you played in, first of all, and what's that experience like?
Well, UC approached me a long time ago when I first started and said, hey, can you bring an American team and be the captain? And I used to just pick the team. And for the first few years, I always went with people like Nate and Avery and Val and players I knew, Climo. And then it became a qualification. And luckily, I've made the team every time. One time, I think I was captain's pick. Thanks, Avery Jenkins. And, me and Nate have been there all 7 times, the only 2 guys.
Wow. And what did you like better? Do you like picking the team or do you like the rankings? Did it take some of the pressure off of you?
Yeah, it took the pressure off, but I like picking the team. The captain picks the team because, the stats are, arguable. But, if you have someone who really knows what they're doing, they pick someone who can represent the country properly. And I think representing yourself is just as important as winning the match.
Absolutely. And also 7 President's Cups. How was that? How was hoisting it for the 7th time? Was it any worse or better than the first 6?
Well, it's always a great honor to win something like the President's Cup. Back when they first started it, it was, I was probably more nervous playing the first President's Cup than any other event that I ever played. Because it was more than just for myself. As an individual athlete, you're only ever playing for yourself. You're your own boss. You don't have to answer to anybody. But in the President's Cup, we had to answer to the other, 7 people on the team and to the whole country for that matter. So, I just think it's one of those wonderful things to be able to compete against players in Europe who are just professional as it gets in our sport. And, I think it's something that in the long run, when we look back on this 50 years from now, Europe will win theirs, America will win theirs. But to certainly be there in the beginning is pretty exciting and a lot of fun for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of individual play, Dave, tell us about your round today. You had some ups, you had some downs. How do you feel after the first day here?
Well, I think that was the best I ever played to shoot a 3 down. I don't know if the course is harder, but I never made more putts and great shots and scored so poorly. And I think it's just because some of the holes are difficult and there's some wind out there, and just barely off is the same as a lot off. And I struggled, and I had moments where I made a great putt and then I'd bogey the next hole. The clip that you guys showed of me earlier, I just came off of a 6 and a 5, and then I was able to bounce back and make that shot. And I think that's what it takes, is the opportunity to keep sticking with it. And I realized, if you look at last time we played this tournament, I was in 34th after the 2nd round. And so this tournament, the way he's designed the course, if you just keep focused and you keep going the whole time and just trying to get under par, then you can get back to the top. And so I was a little disappointed if you saw me out there, sometimes really intense. But I know I still have a chance, and that's all that matters. I didn't lose the tournament on the first day.
Yeah, that's the good old phrase saying, you can't win the tournament on the first day, but you can certainly lose it. And as an AM player myself, I'm not telling anybody my PDGA number, so you can't look up my rating. But when did you guys get to that point where you can just shake that off and go to the next hole? When is that in your career that you just get that? Because I can't wait to get there.
Let me know when you get there so you can tell me how you got there.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure, No, I'm trying to get there, but some days no problem, snap back. But sometimes you dig yourself such a hole that you're trying to get out, and it just doesn't work because we play so many rounds and you can't expect to always climb out of the hole, and that's what really starts to break people. I just realized that the next time I go out, if I just show my skill, eventually it'll work for me. And I think that's where you start to graduate. You just have to know within that I'm capable and I can do it, and then you'll do it.
That's pretty well spoken. You got to follow that up.
Yeah, I think we as professional athletes, we always live on the fact that there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you kind of have to be that way. You know, you can't put all your eggs in one basket because emotionally you're just not going to be able to get up the next day and do it all over again. You know, if Dave had shot a 12 under today, he would have to go through the same regiment that he's going to go through tomorrow. Yeah, sure, it might be a little bit easier, but there's always tomorrow. And so that's kind of what I think, you know, I don't know how Dave feels about it, but I'm sure he feels the same way. You know, you just kind of got to compartmentalize the entire tournament, 4 individual rounds. If you do something great, carry it on to the next day. If you don't, leave it behind you and move on forward. So, I mean, Dave last year or 2 years ago here at this same event was a great example. I mean, we were both way down the original leaderboard. I worked my way back up to make the top 16, but Dave worked his way all the way into the lead card. I mean, it's a perfect example that you just have to leave what happened the day before behind and move forward.
And, me and Nate are playing tomorrow if you're watching at home, so watch for one of us to make that climb.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Check it out. It'll be easy to get highlights of both of these guys playing on the same card.
Yeah.
Well, what's harder for you? Coming off of a fantastic round, hottest round you've ever shot, and following it up, or coming off of a terrible round and climbing out of that hole? Which is more pressure?
Fantastic round. Coming off a fantastic round and keeping it up, at some point in your head, I say it sometimes like, can I keep going? Am I going to keep making every putt? Eventually, I've played so many times, I know I don't make every one. Is it coming? But when I shoot a really bad round, all I can think about is, I need to get back up there because this is our profession, and I can't just lay down and give up and say, hey, well, this tournament I'm just going to take 65th, because then I, can't pay the bills. I can't be the professional I am.
Absolutely. And ups or downs, you both had some great shots, and sneak preview, you guys might show up in our next segment. Let's take a look at the top 5 shots of today.
Top 5.
Starting out at number 5, hole 2, KJ Nybo, star from Denmark. Great outside the circle putt going in for the birdie. Jeremy Colling after a big forehand that skipped out of bounds and stayed out to save his 3. And then, hey, this guy's sitting right next to me. How about this shot? Right after a 6 and a 5, he says. Finding it, seeking right over the bushes, just over, peeks right through. And that's an easy putt for him right there. And hole 5. What are you thinking here? Hole 5, 2 from the woods. He's trying to make it look easy.
Impossible.
And finally, the McBeast. Obviously, hole 1, ace. It's always nice when you don't have to putt. Easiest way to play the game.
Good for your stats.
Definitely.
What do you guys think of that? How does that rank up there for opening rounds? That's some pretty good shots today.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize, hitting an ace is a big deal in a major. I mean, like he said, he's had 2, I've had 1. You've had that one against me at the 05 Worlds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, that launched him into win a world title. And I mean, it does something for your ability. If you're honed in where you're going to make it into the basket off the drive, then you're not worried about making your putts. And I think that it does something like when I hit that ace 2 weeks ago at Maple Hill, and it went viral or whatever, something about that made me play good for the next week or 2. It just gives you this kind of, hey, I still got it. And I think that with that ace, he's going to be tough to catch.
Yeah. Shout out to SportsCenter, #SC Top 10. We've got 2 of the guys that have been on ESPN this year
right?
with some aces in some really clutch scenarios. And I want to ask you both this question. Starting with Nate, you were the first. You started the floodgates, and people are just dying to see disc golf now, man. Like, what did that do for you? How did you feel after that experience?
I mean, I was in the right place at the right time. That's all I say. I was lucky enough to hit an ace and somebody was filming it. The fact that it was on SportsCenter, that's just timing. This is the right time, the right place where, the internet is hungry for disc golf. People are hungry for disc golf. The right person works in the right place, and I think it was really pretty cool. For me personally, it was just a dream come true to be in the top 10 on SportsCenter. But for disc golf, I mean, you saw. At the Glass Blown, we had another one. Devin at the Masters Cup and Dave out there at the Maple Hill. I mean, who knows? When I heard McBeth, ace that hole, I thought, oh, SportsCenter. But it might not meant to be with. We didn't have good footage of it. But interesting fact about that hole with Paul, when we were playing yesterday, he said, oh, this is the hole that I haven't practiced at all. I'm like, how's that possible? He said, well, I get to 8 and I just walk to 11 or to 10. I'm like, what? And then in both shots yesterday at the President's Cup were ace runs. And so it doesn't surprise me when he got the ace today.
Stick to the game plan is what he told us, but clearly he didn't have a game plan. He probably didn't have a birdie game plan, so it ends up going in the basket instead.
Right.
But let's talk about, Dave, your ace at Maple Hill was one of the most ridiculous shots. And I'm talking to other professionals. I'm talking to my good buddy Patrick Brown back in San Francisco, and he couldn't believe it. I mean, were you trying to do that? Be honest.
To be honest with you, I wasn't able, the first couple rounds I played the shot, I didn't commit to it enough, but to commit to it enough, it would have to make an ace run, the way the angle of the hole was. I was always coming out early, and I needed to get in the top 10. I was in about 10th place, and I wanted to play good, and it was really windy, and I'm not so good in the wind like Nate. And so I just said, commit, and I commit to it, and I look over, and the guy's filming it. And I was like, huh. He goes, sending it to Sports Center. And I was like, really? And I just thought maybe they might mention it, 10th or something. But it went viral. I mean, I don't understand. I think Nate did open the gates because it's in 16 countries, aired it. It's on MSN. I don't know how it got so viral. It wasn't my greatest shot of my career. Maybe the greatest shot caught on tape. But like you said, it's the right time, the right place, and we know the right person at Sports Center. Yeah. But I think it opened a lot of eyes. I mean, you wouldn't believe the kind of things. They're talking about one of us two having an ESPY possibly nomination. So I haven't told Nate that yet. That's what they told me. So
no, surprise on air. We do all kinds of surprises on the show. If you guys haven't figured that out yet,
amazing for disc golf to get an ESPY nomination and continue. I mean, I think that if you notice from Nate's to my coverage, they started to respect us more slowly. The Oklahoman guy, then Devin Owens, and now they're talking about not this disc golf. They're like, let's go to the Disc Golf Maple Hill Open and see a good shot. And I think that's the difference is they're starting to recognize us as a sport, and that's all we ever wanted.
Absolutely, and there's definitely no qualms about them recognizing a real sport over here in Finland with the great crowds and the great competition. Before we go in the next segment, Dave, I got to ask you, what's your plan for tomorrow? Your ups and your downs. How are you going to attack tomorrow?
I'm going to do my slow climb. Me and Nate are going to go out there. We're going to battle, do our slow climb, and I just think that if I could take a couple strokes off the lead each day, like I did last time, I'll have a chance at the end, and that's all you can ever hope for. Like you said, he is the McBeast. He's a lot younger than I am and Nate, and he's in his prime. And I feel like we can run with him when we're playing well, and I think and hope that one of us will play well enough to make a run in the end.
Absolutely. We're going to let Dave go get some sleep and start to catch McBeast. You're not that old that you need a nap yet, but let's make sure he gets to tee times on time and all that good stuff. And right now, let's kick it back from the archives in SpinTV. Let's watch one of the world's furthest throwers, another young gun, show us how he does it.
Well, out here in El Mirage, the dry lake bed, I'm Simon Lazat, world's farthest thrower, and I'm going to show you how to maximize your distance. The first thing I check when I get out here is the wind direction and the wind speed. For me being right-handed, the ideal wind is blowing over my left shoulder, wind from left to right, carrying my disc through the sky. The ideal wind speed is between 15 and 20 miles per hour. It's the ideal wind speed that will carry your disc as far as possible. What you want to avoid is a straight tailwind. Straight tailwinds tends to drop your disc out of the sky. That's obviously not what you want. Also, never throw into a headwind. Headwind will lift your disc, slow it down, and bring it backwards. Positioning yourself correctly to the wind is your first step on maximizing your distance. Second is the disc selection. On the golf course, we're looking for straight to overstable distance drivers to give us more consistent results and put us straight down the fairway. Out here, crushing drives, we're looking for lighter and more understable discs. For me, that disc was the Blizzard Boss. I can throw it high into the sky, make it flip, and ride the wind. What I'm looking for in my bosses is a dome. Dome discs tend to stay in the air longer and glide farther. Flat discs are a little quicker, but also finish harder and early to the ground. For optimal results, find the disc that matches your arm speed the best. Finally, and this is where it gets tough, it's releasing the disc on the correct height and angle. In these types of shots, my reach back goes down to my hips, through my body, and release at my shoulder. On the hit point, I focus on throwing straight into the sky, having the wind flip my disc and carry it as far as possible. It's a really fine line between hitting that carry line, throwing a sky roller, or a stall-out flex shot. So don't get frustrated if you don't hit it every time. Me personally, I only hit it like 20% of the time. All we can do is do what we practiced and hope for the best. So remember, line up to the wind, choose the right disc, work on those angles, and maybe I'll see you at the distance contest in the future. Now I gotta go throw. See ya later. Pro tip, throw it hard. When I get out here, is the wind carry up in the sky. The whip perfect. I think this just came loose. Finally, and here's where it gets tough. God, my brain is so melted. I just want to go throw. I'm so angry right now. Find the right disc and work out that. On these types of shots, can we do it in German? Maybe that'll be so much easier. For optimal results, you have to find the optimal. I'm gonna.
Simon's a character, as usual. But he throws far.
That's good stuff right there.
All right. Well, let's talk to Nate. Your round today. Let's talk about it. We talked to Dave about his round. How did you do, man?
You know, I think Dave actually said it right. You know, you do a little bit here, a little bit there, and you know, it kind of turns into a 3 under par. Actually, if I compare myself to two years ago, I'm doing much better than I was after the first round, which I think I shot a 4 over or 6 over. So, you can see there. I had 6 birdies, 3 bogeys. That's half the course. That's 9 holes. I had 9 pars, but really, it's all those bogeys had OBs. And Paul said it last night. You have to have a game plan, which I felt like I followed my game plan pretty well. And all the OBs that I had today were marginal. They were so close to the edge. They were so close to being close to perfect that I don't really feel too bad about today's round. Really, threw a lot of really good shots and actually got in a lot of kind of weird places that I hadn't gotten into in the practice round. So I had to make sort of a special shot here, a special shot there, and I was able to save those pars on those holes. So, I look forward to, tomorrow as just a way to just try to shoot better. Make a few putts. I missed a few putts out there. My putting has not been great. I think, if you follow along with what we're doing, that's probably the weakest part of my game. And it's just frustrating as a player. But, I'm sticking with it. I'm going to just continue to grind it out and battle it out. And, I want to try to, by the end of the tournament, be in a position to play in that final group and find myself in a position to try to win the tournament.
And so when you're just barely out, when you go up there, and that's got to be frustrating. And it's frustrating for all skill levels. It's especially got to be frustrating given the amount of time you put into your craft. Do you change the game plan tomorrow? Or do you just say, you know what, that won't go out again?
No, I don't change the game plan. I just have to make a better shot. They're marginal. One thing could have gone one way, could have gone the other way. But, you kind of make your own luck as a player. Lucky thing, things that we call lucky, or maybe fortunate, you have to make that yourself. You have to sort of make a little bit of an extra effort to maybe get that better kick or get that little bit of an extra carry. For example, on 16, I had one that went in, hit on the top of the bail, and came backwards. Had I thrown that shot 1 foot longer, we wouldn't be having that same conversation. My score would be 1 stroke better. So, you sort of have to make your own luck, your own fortune, And I really don't want to change my game plan. Just throw the disc a little better, give myself easier putts, more opportunities.
What's the Nate Doss game plan? Talking about it a lot. You guys give us the Cliff Notes.
I mean, the game plan on a course like this is just that, stay in bounds. It's a game plan. It's something that you're going to try to stick to, because I know, say if I didn't throw out of bounds today, I would have been 6 under par. I wouldn't have had any bogeys. But it's a lot easier said than done. I've always had that game plan out at Winthrop, just the same. But the biggest thing is be aggressive off the tee. This course, you cannot be too short off the tee. There's really no way to get to the baskets if you're too short. Stay aggressive off the tee. Stay in bounds. And you have to make a few extra putts. You have to make a putt that maybe is 10 feet outside the circle and you nail it. You have to make 1 or 2 of those around to really just connect the dots of all the birdies. You have to fill in that middle gap. And that's when you shoot a great round like Paul or like Will. They probably had a shot in there or two that really connected up to really great sections, and that's how you shoot a great round. So I feel like that's what I need to do, and if I can do that, I feel like I would move up the scoreboard. If not, I'm going to continue to battle it out and try to just keep on keeping on,
I know you're going to connect some dots in these next couple days.
Yeah.
I'm for sure of it. When you're going into Sunday, what's striking distance? How many strokes do you need to be within range?
Well, I mean, I personally never think about that. Of course, I understand that as far as, the people out there want to know. I just want to be playing well, because to me, then really anything is possible. When you're going up against the greatest players in the world, you just have to be confident in your own ability. Because I can't sit here and tell you, well, if I'm within 2 of Paul McBeth, that's striking distance for me. But, I could be 5 behind him, and who knows what's going to happen. He's a great player. If he shoots a great round, he's going to win the tournament, So I just want to be playing well going into that round. And yeah, you mean really on this course, if I had to put a number on it, I would probably say 5 or 6 strokes, because there is a lot of opportunity. If it was a different course, I would say maybe 2 or 3 with a guy like Paul or a guy like Will, or even Ricky for that matter. Those are the 3 big dogs up at the top right now. But here, maybe 4 or 5. If you come out early, bang, you get those early birdies through that front 9. Who knows what could happen on the back 9?
What would it mean to win this tournament?
For me, it would mean a lot. I've gone the last 2 seasons. I play in all the biggest tournaments. I do not play tournaments that don't have people like Paul, Will, Ricky, Dave, Avery. I don't play tournaments without the biggest people, and I haven't won lately. I've come really, really close in a lot of situations, and that's been sort of one of the things that makes each week get a little bit more difficult, because you're trying to get there. So it would mean a lot to me. I've been coming here since 2006, 9 years. This is my 6th European Open, and I've really never played that great here in Finland. I had won 3rd 4 years ago, but other than that, 5ths and 6s and 20th and things like that. So to win this tournament with all the great Finnish friends I have, and being knowing Jussi for so long, it would really just be an honor, as it is to win any tournament. So, I just keep on grinding it out, and maybe the cards will fall in. If not, I'm gonna stand there and be proud of however I finish, for sure.
Absolutely. Nate Doss, the most humble 3-time world champion you're going to find, and you can mark that down as a guarantee. Thank you so much for co-hosting the show with me tonight. We got through it, had a lot of fun, but guess what? We're coming back tomorrow. Round 2 means more surprises, more OBs, more stats, more of everything you love about disc golf.
More of Jamie. Yeah,
this
of
guy.
You. Yeah, that
hey,
you.
I got another guy who's pretty lively coming on the show tomorrow night. My co-host tomorrow night is another one of my very good friends, the world's furthest thrower and the world's fastest thrower. Simon Lazat's going to join us in studio. So until tonight, you guys sleep tight. When you wake up tomorrow in the U.S., we're going to have some more coverage for you. Until then, this is The Insider Show.